a lot of them. So I'm sure for the parents out there, you can remember just trying to keep your eyes open as you got through the same children's book for about the 10th time that week. And maybe for the younger souls, you can remember staring at the illustrations and trying to imagine what else could be happening in those pictures. So go ahead and we'll follow along so we stay on the same page. And we're going to talk about how I read a children's book. So besides just looking at the cover, it's also important to see how the illustrations are done. How do they set up the title? Where do they put the names of the author and the illustrator? As you open the book, maybe some of you, does anyone out there have a soft cover, a paperback? If you have one, raise your hand. Yeah, so there's one or two. They're not as common, usually because children can love a little too hard. Hardcover books are going to last longer. How do they compose the front matter? So those are the pages that are set before the book actually starts. Those are things like maybe a page with a pattern. With a hardcover book, you'll often have a flap. Maybe some of the books you're holding don't have that flap because it's been lost over the years or it just didn't come with one. It really does depend. On the inside pages, maybe you'll find the copyright information, but this can also be found on the inside flap. So it's easy to see how many different ways there are to compose a children's book. Oftentimes they'll put a dedication in memory of or an honor on the same page as the copyright. And you have to decide whether you like this or not. And for me, I'm slowly putting together from all the books that I've read the way that I most like it to be composed. In this example, we have a full title page. That's when you find the title, the illustrator, the author, and the publication information. Sometimes you'll only find a half title page where there's just the title and possibly an illustration. And in this case, we start the book right away. Here we have a illustration is spread on both pages. So this is called a spread. And this is an interesting setup. I prefer this setup because it gives you a little bit more room to work with for the illustrator. But some books just have an illustration on one side and the words on the other. So it really does depend. So feel free to flip through your books and read if you like, but I'm going to skip to the back to show you about the back matter, which is the information that's kept after the story ends. So of course, here's the last page of our story dedicated to a full illustration. And in this case, this is a really informational book about different types of weavings and rugs and blankets. So this book describes each one. So while the text was kind of fictional and fun about rabbits who hunt and dance and keep fires, the back of the book offers some nonfiction information to kind of keep the reader, the parent, the child in touch with what the book is actually about. Sometimes you'll find it about the author, about the illustrator page. So both of these, all of these things are important to look for, especially for me who's trying to go through and figure out how I want to set up a children's book myself. So next I'm going to read to you a little piece that I've written so far for my children's book. So this is an excerpt from my children's book that is actually composed of two different stories, kind of like a story within a story. So this is the inner story, so it might seem a little hard to follow, but this will give you a good reason to come back for more and read the full book when it's ready. So I'll go ahead and begin. It is a rhyming theme, which is kind of fun for kids to keep their focus and listen to. So, many, many moons ago, and further than a smooth stone's throw, lived a land so vast and green, like something only dreams have seen. Now in this land there lived a bear, a tall dark forest, a great big hare. Many birds with colored wings, a type of dog that liked to sing. A bumpy frog, a horny toad, a mountain where it always snowed. Beyond the mountain there sat a lake, until one day there was a quake. The ground shook loud and cracked apart, as mighty clouds rolled in dark. A massive storm began to brew, and for 30 days continued through. All the creatures of the land came together hand in hand. Snakes that slithered, frogs that flew, 10 mountain goats and rabbits too. The birds flew in, with mice on back, not a single rodent did they lack. One by one the creatures rallied, and as time passed their numbers tallied. As the animals gathered, the storm grew worse. They realized then there was a curse. The sky was shaking and crumbling down. Each creature wore a heavy frown. Saddened by their unknown fate, and knowing there no time to wait, each creature found its favorite friends, and ran until they reached the ends. As pelicans carried the fish away, seagulls kept the storm at bay. Slowly but surely the animals scurried, without one left behind, don't you worry. Soon enough the last fish was transported, creatures in line, attendants reported. Bonnie, Frank, Phil, and Claire, but when he called Shelley, everyone stared. The creatures all looked around with concern until a hawk named Henry volunteered to return. "I'll go back, I'll find her," he yelled aloud. "Hooray for Henry," applauded the crowd. Without a moment to waste, Henry took off in flight, as the storm rumbled on with all of its might. Into the spiraling clouds he went, and soon enough began his descent. With seconds to spare, he heard her voice, and in that moment he was given a choice. The earth was splitting right under his feet, and the sky was falling down in sheets. He looked at the shell from across the lake and decided the risk is what he would take. But the storm was too strong, it forced him down. The little shell cried as he started to drown. Suddenly the ground broke in two, the water rushed out, and the sky turned blue. The sun came out and started to shine, and Henry turned out to be just fine. It's odd to think that long ago, our earth was different than you know. So this is why you found a shell in a place where vast waters do not dwell. Now you, like Henry, have a choice to make, so listen closely, make no mistake. The shell sat here for many years before to you it even appeared. So while you have found it, you must consider this fossil was once a living critter. Do not belittle the treasure you found, show your friends and pass it around. Our earth is a place that is always in change. What is normal today is tomorrow's change. This is why it's important to know what our world was like so long ago. So this book is going to focus on the changing world and how you might be walking through a desert or finding yourself on top of a mountain and you come across a shell, and how that can be strange and hard to understand for some children. And this book is going to look at why that is like that, why it's possible that a shell might be where water is not. Another big aspect of my research here, my studies here, are why children need nature. And this is a page that one of the groups who came and visited PCCI this past spring, summer, she wrote this down and kind of drew a picture. So this is a great reason why kids need nature. But I'm kind of looking into the more scientific reasons that they needed. Things like how it can affect their behavior, how this will change the way that they think about school, the way they use their senses, and what happens if they don't receive enough nature influence in their life. And that's when nature deficiency comes into play. So these things are things I'm still looking at and still learning about, but eventually I'll be able to compose an essay, kind of a research-based essay, and a brochure that will summarize that essay to go along with it. This is the illustrator that I'm working with. These are a couple of her sketches. She's very good at using fine detail and putting emotion into her characters. Right here you only see people, but when she does draw animals, they're quite curious critters. I really like the way she puts them together. And at this point, we haven't quite decided what medium I'm going to be using, whether it is watercolor on top of a pen sketch. She does have skills in multiple areas. She's done cut paper, so we still are deciding that part of it. Some struggles along the way. So of course I've had physical struggles with a broken foot, but besides that it has been tough with a little bit of writer's block. Having a broken foot has kept me inside and not walking around so much, so I haven't been able to gather all the outdoor inspirations I would like to be, but I'm still finding that I'm able to get most of my work done throughout the day, and I'm currently focusing on the more research side of things, and kind of balancing that between having a lot of fun writing a children's book and working with an illustrator, but also trying to stay true to my reading, stay true to my more research-oriented work. And that's that.